So some of you on this problem, on problem 2 and 3, got a little bit confused. And you know what? I'm kind of glad you got confused, because it points out to me that, one, you're thinking on your own. I'm giving you one way to solve it, but you can solve it in all sorts of different ways. Some of you got the same denominator here and said, oh, well, let me multiply by 2 over 2 and 7 over 7 and get a 14 in my denominator, then I can subtract. That's a wonderful way to solve it. That's also very acceptable. I'm giving you one way. You don't have to do it my way. But your final answer should be -9/4 and 8. Can you guys raise your hands? Show me how many people got those as their solutions. Good. Okay. So we're going to go to number 4. So if you guys can turn to number 4, we'll do another example. All right. So really quickly, let's list our steps. Step 1 was what? Identify the restrictions. I'm doing this for a reason. I actually left it blank because I want you to rewrite the steps. It'll help you to remember what the steps are. But again, there are lots of different ways of solving this. This is not the only way. So we do have to state our restrictions. What else do we need to do? What could be our next step? I think they're on strike. Nobody's talking to me. I should maybe just call on one person. Identify the LCD. Step 3. What are we going to do to both sides? Alejandro, help me out. Thank you. Multiply both sides by the LCD. That will, in one step, get rid of all the denominators. If it doesn't, then we need to pick a bigger, or then we didn't have the correct LCD. The last step would be what? Jason, what do we need to do in our last step? Very good. Simplify and double check that our answer is correct. And see if we have any extraneous solutions. So, in this situation, there is a value that we need to restrict. If I look at my denominator, I see, oh my goodness, that could be 0. So what value is going to make that denominator equal to 0? Yeah, 5 times 0. Yep, I can just set the denominator equal to 0. 5x equals 0. Divide by 5, and x equals 0. That is my restriction. So I'm going to write not x equals 0, but x is not allowed to equal 0. That is my restriction. All right, so next up, LCD. We need to get rid of an x, a 5, and a 2. In total, what is our least common denominator? 10x. Yeah. So our LCD in this problem, our restriction is x is not allowed to equal 0. Our LCD is 10x. We need a 5 and a 2 and a x. All right. Next up, multiply both sides by the LCD. Multiply this whole side, careful, and this whole side by 10x. 10x. It's going to go there and there in the numerator. Right? Now we talked about, instead of writing it as 10, how else might I want to write it? Rachel, how else could I write 10 that would help me to simplify? Yeah, 5 times 2. We know 10 is 5 times 2. I can replace a dollar with 4 quarters. It looks a little different. So I'm going to write 5 times 2 times x times 3 right here. 5 times 2 times x times 3 over 5x plus 5 times 2 times x times 7 over 2x equals 10x. Alright, so again, why did I want to write that 10 instead of as 10? Why would I want to write it as 5 and 2? How is that helping me? Why is that a good thing? Thank you. Alright, Ingrid said it's easier to cancel out. So we're going to cancel out. We're simplifying, right? 5 over 5 is 1. X divided by x is 1. And what's left is 2 times 3. The 2 and the x all simplify. And what's left is 35. Am I going too fast? Sorry. Alright. We're almost done. Add things up. Divide both sides by 10, and we have our answer. But before I say, yes, for sure, this is my answer, what do I need to check? I need to check I need to check the back page to see if the answer is there. All right. I need to check and see, does it conflict with my restriction? My restriction is 0. No. So there's no conflict with that. I also can plug it in to my x and get a true statement. Okay? All right. So that is... All right. The answers for 5 and 6 are on the board. Go ahead and check them out. See if you agree, disagree. A equals a half and B equals 5. Any questions about 5 or 6? Yes, that we're not there yet. All right. So we are going to do number 7 together. Let's state our restrictions. Very first step. I see right here, x cannot equal, x is not allowed to equal what value? What value here would make that equal to 0? A -4. Thank you for thinking with me. All right. Now, what about this x squared minus 16? Let's factor it. Good idea. Let's factor, because we know that's x plus 4, x minus 4. The same with this one. X plus 4, x minus 4. So Aldo, when we're setting our restrictions, we're saying, okay, x can't equal -4, and it also can't equal what other number? Are there any other restrictions? Here, if x is a -4, then that equals 0. Well, what about this one? When x equals what? We did -4, Rosa. Yeah. When x equals a -4, this will be 0, and therefore the denominator is 0. And if x is a +4, it will also, the denominator will also be 0. Okay? So if I plug the 4 in here, 4 squared is 16 minus 16. That would give me 0. So I have to restrict those two values. X is not allowed to equal either of those two. In the end, when I get my answer and it says, oh, look, x equals 3 and -4. Is that allowed? Oh, wait, -4 is not allowed, right, Brianna? So -4, I'm going to have to say, oh, wait, -4, that's not allowed. So that's not one of my solutions. Okay? We need to be conscious of this when we're looking at our answer. All right. So let's go ahead and do our steps. Find the LCD. What is the least common denominator? What factors do I need to get rid of everything in the denominator? Thank you. X plus 4 and x minus 4. Good job, Daryl. Good job. All right. X plus 4, x minus 4. Now, I'm going to write out all the steps. Once you start to see it, you will get better and better at not really needing every single step. But it's a good idea at first to show all the steps. We're multiplying x plus 4x minus 4 in here. Then we're multiplying it here. And that's over x plus 4. And then we multiply it in here. Over x plus 4, x minus 4. All right. So, our whole goal by multiplying both sides by the LCD was to get rid of every one of those denominators. Let's check and see if we did our job. This should cancel out and become 1. It does. Good. What's left is 4. This should cancel out. It does. What's left is 5 times x minus 4. What should cancel out here? This, and this, and this, and this. Our whole denominator canceled out. Woohoo! Alright, now we're back to an Algebra 1 type of equation. Distributive property, get x's on one side, numbers on the other. And we're ready to go. Okay? 4x. 4 and negative 20 would be negative 16. So add 16 to both sides. You get 20. I say x equals 5. But before I say yes, my answer is x equals 5, what am I going to do? Well, let me double check. Does it conflict with my restrictions? It's not allowed to equal negative 4, and it's not allowed to equal 4. That's okay. We're good. That is my answer. I can also plug it back in here and multiply this out. Everything should be equal. Both sides of the equation should be equal. All right, any questions about number 7? All right, you guys are going to coach each other through number... Actually, the bell's going to ring.